So yesterday Prigozhin called Shoigu a shit eater and a motherfucker. So today Shoigu is like going outside and saying, hey, Pigo, stop. Don't be so angry at me. We are all same people, good friends. And this is what I've been doing that I didn't told you, because the truth be told, Russia has been saving all these T-90 tanks. You know, they have 8,000 T-90 tanks, and Shoigu has created a huge, like look at this. This is like a huge amount of presence of these T-90 tanks. And Shoigu is like, I personally going there, dude. I personally went there. I lined them up. I saw them each one by one. They are there. It's not a joke. You know, this isn't a Western propaganda. I personally visited. I didn't rely on any general or anybody. I went there. I moved myself. I mobilized myself, okay, from the chair. I mobilized inside the helicopter, and then I mobilized myself outside the helicopter and checked all these tanks personally. They are all there in good condition, brand new condition, and they are all coming to help you. Prego, stop making nonsense videos and stop calling me a shit eater of hell, and stop calling me motherfucker and this and that, and apologize to me in the next video, because people are listening. Our home fight should not go out in the public. This is a huge tanks, okay, and look at this. That's like a huge tanks. They are all T-90 tanks, and Shoigu has readied it. It's like a lot of them, but we are gonna analyze it by pausing. And what is this? Why is this does this? So this is what does this does? Shoigu. Yeah, this is T-90 with that gun on top of it. This is an automatic gun. Yeah, you look at this. Oh, wait a second. Now we can see a bigger picture. Shoigu should have released a 4K video that I could have zoomed in. So Shoigu went there personally. You know, he was not just sitting there with a bunch of girls. Shoigu, oh wait a second. Look at this. This is a huge thing. It's not a good thing for Ukrainsky. Shoigu is like, okay, time to go back home and sleep. Okay, I'm back. Oh, he went to other place. I'm sorry. They are all old now, you know what I mean? Old. I have seen my grandfather and stuff. When they get old, they do like this. I said, hey, grandfather, how are you? Hey, grandpa. Huh? So then I said, grandfather, do you want to watch Netflix? Huh? Should I come there and yell loudly? Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you? Yes. Netflix? Huh? So, they look like this. So, at this age, these people should not do all this kind of stuff. You know, this is the old age. I don't understand. They should retire and give a 40-year-old a chance. You know what I'm saying? 40-year-olds, they are like, they know everything. They are like, hey, shut the fuck up, Ukrainsky. Get the fuck out, or we will use Air Force. We'll fuck you up. But these grandfathers, they are like, why use Air Force? We will not use Air Force. And because they have not used the Air Force, the Russian army is completely exposed to the Ukrainian army that is in front of them, and their quadcopters and stuff like that. You know, a quadcopter cannot travel like 5 kilometers. Ukrainian army is filled with the DJI drones. They cannot fly more than 5 kilometers distance. Okay, which means that the Ukrainian presence is just 5 kilometers or 4 kilometers from the Russian army, and the Russian army is exposed towards whatever the Ukrainian army will send to them in terms of artillery, in terms of ATGMs, in terms of quadcopter with grenades on top. Why is this happening? And that could have been stopped if the Russian Air Force would go and destroy all these Ukrainian positions on the front line. If they would have done that, the only job of the army is that once the Air Force has done annihilating the area in front of them, the army goes there just to see, capture a bunch of enemy soldiers and claim the land. And then the Air Force goes and bombards the area in front of them, and then the army will go there and check out everything and take some more soldiers prisoners of war, and they would secure the place. But because the Russian Air Force is not present in this war, and therefore this is a very bad thing for the Russian army. But nevertheless, if grandpas are fighting the war, this is how the war will be fought. Because I know my grandfather, if you ask him that, grandfather, can you make omelette? Huh? Omelette? Yes, I can make it. And then he will go there, he will take the egg, and the egg will start shaking as if he is mixing the egg inside the egg itself. And then he will take a plate and then crack the egg in the plate. I said, what did you do? Why did you crack the egg inside the plate? I did. Where is the plate? I said, this is the plate. Oh, now what? I said, put it in a bowl. Ah, yes. Very good, very good. And that's how he makes an omelette. You need to supervise him all the time, and he is exactly the same age as Shoigu and Putin. Maybe a little bit more, like maybe 73. The point is, this is not the age for you to conduct the war, or you will make mistakes like this. And all these trucks are gonna be destroyed. I'm telling you the truth, dude. Because this is the job of Russian Air Force, to annihilate all the positions at least at a 25-kilometer distance from the Russian army itself. This is the only video that we have. Yes. So basically, Prigozhin called Shoigu a motherfucker. Called him like, you are a fucking. He called Shoigu every single thing, like, you are a shit eater, you are a motherfucker, you are a this, you are a that. He called him every single thing except for one thing, that Shoigu, you are a corrupt motherfucker. He did not use the word corrupt because he knows that, that would be crossing the line. You know what I'm saying? That will put a break in our friendship if you call me a fucking corrupt, and that too in front of people. You call me corrupt? You should have called me a bastard. I did call you a bastard. You should have called me a motherfucker. I did call you a motherfucker. You should have called me a shit eater. I did call you a shit eater. But you should have never called me a corrupt Shoigu. That is an insult that you cannot come back from now. I will never talk to you ever. Forget about our friendship of 30 years, 35 years. I don't care, dude. From now on, don't fucking talk to me ever again. So he called Shoigu every single thing except the word corrupt, because that is the N word, He don't say it. He don't say it. So the point is, all these things that you're watching now, all these T-90 tanks, are completely gonna be destroyed by the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians have taken positions in front of the Russian army, which should have been technically destroyed by the Russian Air Force. But because the Russian Air Force is not present, what will happen to these tanks? You know what will happen. What will happen to the soldiers? You know what will happen. And that's exactly my point. You cannot fight wars by keeping or hiding your Air Force somewhere in the corner. So nevertheless, I think Shoigu is sending these tanks to help Prigozhin. Okay, and obviously these tanks are not going to go on their own. There will be a huge amount of ammunition and every single thing that will go towards Bakhmut, because Bakhmut is the de facto battlefield right now. So I'm pretty sure that much of this is going towards Bakhmut, and much of this would go towards wherever required. But so far Ukraine has not conducted an offensive. And the reason why Ukraine can do an offensive, because Dnipro is not annihilated by the Russian Air Force, because Ugledar is not annihilated by the Russian Air Force. All these cities, Kharkiv, are not annihilated by the Russian Air Force. And because of that, you know how Americans fight? They take their aircraft carrier near the enemy country, and these planes load with bombs and fly, and they go get empty and come back on the aircraft carrier and load again they go, again bomb, again they come back. When these planes take off, they load the bombs on other planes, and then they take off, then those planes come in, then they will sit there for like 30 minutes, 1 hour, then they load it again, turn it around, again the plane. This goes on non-stop. Okay, that results in a complete annihilation of whatever enemy that is in front of you. That is the job of Air Force, and they all fly at a very high altitude of 40,000 feet, 45,000 feet. At that altitude, no Stinger missile can touch you at that altitude. So my point is, instead of sending these tanks, I would have recommended Russians to send your goddamn Air Force. Start loading them with bombs. Use that thing. What do they call it? Like the planes go, they drop bombs, come back, then they are loaded again, they go, drop back, come back. It's called something. I don't remember the exact name of it. But that is a huge process. They have to do it like 700, 800 times a day. Are you understanding me? 700, 800 times a day. A planes land and go. Americans did it 2000 times in Iraq. Every single day. This back and forth action was done around 2000 times in different zones. You know, that was crazy stuff. That many aircrafts were flying up. It was crazy. And Russia is not doing it. If you ask me, I think they are all going towards their doom. You know, these tanks are going towards their doom. That's what I will tell you. And much of you will agree. Without the air cover, if you just send the tanks at the mercy of the Ukrainians that are hidden in this location and that location, without the Air Force completely annihilating them totally, these tanks are doomed. Completely doomed. So don't have high hopes for the Russians. Okay, absolutely don't have high hopes for them. I'm telling you in a very plain way, because even today Ukraine is not receiving anything from the West. Okay, whatever they have received is not enough. If Russia just mobilize their air force, which means that these planes are flying 800 times a day, there won't be any Ukrainian tanks left anywhere. Okay, there won't be Ukrainian positions that are using the quadcopters, because there will only be quadcopter parts which the Russian army will go and say this is the quadcopter part. Probably the Ukrainians were trying to use this against us, but our air force annihilated it. Maybe there is one reason that Russia is not using their air force in that way, is because Grandpa Putin and Grandpa Shoigu has said that this is not a war, this is a special military operation, and in a special military operation we cannot use air force. Well, but you are using missiles, caliber missiles and this and that. Yes, that is allowed in special military operation. But you are taking drones from Iran, painting them green and writing Garan 2 on it, and then you are sending it as Garan 2. But everybody on this planet knows that they are Shahid 1 and 36. Yes, and why are you doing that? That is allowed in the special military operation. What is not allowed in the special military operation? Air force is not allowed. nuclear weapons are not allowed, and full mobilization of Russian army is not allowed. Dude, I'm not asking you to mobilize your entire army, okay? Like, I'm not even talking about soldiers. I'm asking you, why aren't your planes flying 800 to 900 times? Sorties, that is called as sorties. Yes, when a plane loads and drops the bombs and come back again, that is one sortie. And 700 800 is a very less amount of sorties compared to what the Americans did in Iraq and Afghanistan. They were doing like a 1500 sorties a day. Imagine that. And what Russians are doing is no sorties. You know, our strategy, the grandpa decided no sorties. Then the super grandpa, which is Biden, the super grandpa, is the grandpa's grandpa, who cannot even like talk properly. How is he doing all these things properly? So that means that he is controlled and he exactly does what he is told. Okay, there is no doubt about it. But in Russia, that kind of thing doesn't happen. You cannot go ahead and tell Grandpa Putin what to do or Grandpa Shoigu what to do, and therefore it's a major fuck up. It's a major disaster. They would come up with new excuses as to not, you know, this is like nobody on this planet has made such a mistake in any war. If any country, you know why Germany lost the war? When they lost the air force. When Germany lost the air force, they lost the war. This Ukraine doesn't even have an air force. They could win fair and square without these tanks even moving 1 inch. Russian air force can go fly 800 900 sorties and start it along the front line first. You know, bombard the front line areas to a 50-kilometer range, starting from 0 kilometers where these Ukrainians are, at 1 kilometer to 5 kilometer range, because that is the range of their quadcopters that they use. You know, first annihilate those positions, then backward 10-15 kilometers where their artillery is. You first take all these positions out, so your army will move forward, take some prisoners, then move forward, capture land, take prisoners. Why are you making such a hard stuff for your army? Why are they need to die on a daily basis? You know, why does your army dying? If you did not had no air force, then this is good. You know, whatever you are doing is good without an air force. But you have an air force and you are not using it, and therefore you have completely kaboomed your army tanks. You are using T-62s. What the fuck? Listen, this is a special military operation. It is very special, super special. And like I said, in special operations like how the Russia is conducting, we cannot use air force. Don't ask more. Okay, it is time for grandpa to sleep now, and it is time for Putin grandpa to talk to Grandpa Ping from China. Okay, so now you go and don't come back. Go. This is exactly the problem. All these stories about what Ukraine will do is all even made possible because there is absolutely nothing that the Russian Air Force is doing. Okay, and if they talk about man pads and the Stinger missiles, that is not even a fucking part of the discussion here. Okay, Stinger missiles cannot target a plane that is flying 40,000 feet in the air. All these bombers, these Su-35s and stuff like that, the MiG-31s, they fly at an altitude of 40,000 feet. No Stinger can reach there. You need special type of air defense for this kind of work, and Ukraine has only two types of air defense that can do this: S-300 and Buk system. So, and Ukraine is running short of, because the result of this war happened that they happened to create this Lancet missile, and that destroyed most of their S-300 missiles and stuff. But whatever the case may be, if you are at a 40,000 altitude, and a S-300 missile is launched at you, or a Buk missile is launched at you, it does not mean that your plane is going to die now. It doesn't mean that. At 40,000 feet, you can do a lot of things to get out of this, which they call it as the evasive maneuver, that every pilot in this world, of all the countries' pilots, know this evasive maneuvers. There is a siren on the plane that will instantly start to make sounds like so pilot will know that a missile has been launched at him. As soon as he hears the he will quickly start launching flares, and then he will start to make turns like crazy, like how you be see in the movies, like he's going like crazy, because he is at an altitude of what, 40,000 feet. That's a huge height that you have, and you're going to take full advantage of it. Okay, you're going to go here and there and here and there, and the missile is just going to miss you, because this missile is not like hooked with a fucking rope and it just grabbed you, like the tractor beam of the Mandalorian. That's a different story. If there was a tractor beam, then that's a different story. This missile is just running away. You have to just ditch it one time and that's it. And you will ditch it, dude. You will ditch it, and that's it. You get out of it, and then the Ukrainsky will launch another, and then again you will do this kind of maneuvers, and you will try to get the fuck out of there. But if you are smarter, okay, which means you are Americans, if you are an American plane, or if you are a smart Russian plane, then what you will do is you are gonna anticipate this thing. Okay, you are gonna anticipate this shit, that we are flying at a high speed, and definitely there is going to be a S-300 or a Buk system going to launch a missile at us. We know it, we anticipate it, and therefore we are going to annihilate the ground positions, but at the same time wait for this shit. So it starts to like make a sound like the missile has been launched. When it is making the sound, the pilot will quickly release the anti-radiation missile, and once that missile is released, he will do the things that I told you and get out of that missile and save himself. He can even fall down all the way till 1,000 feet. From 40,000 feet, there is no missile that's gonna follow him all the way from 40,000 feet to 1,000 feet, and then he will go here and there. There is shitload of evasive maneuvers, but in this case, when you launch that anti-radiation missile, it is going to go towards that S-300 and destroy it. That's what these anti-radiation missiles are for. So once you get locked in by that radar, that's the first thing you do, that you release your anti-radar missile, the anti-radiation missile, the ARM. The Russians have that a lot. It's an old technology now. S-300 itself is an old technology. It is not some state-of-the-art American new and improved some sort of a THAAD system. You can do the same thing to the Patriot system. It is not like invincible. So the point is, Patriots are not near the front line. Patriots are not something that you have to deal with. Okay, and even if you deal with the Patriot system, the same thing. Patriot isn't dropped from the asshole of the gods. It is just like a hyped American nonsense. So it is just the same as maybe S-300 advanced, okay, like a new iteration of it. So it will launch its missile. What Patriot is good for is to target the ballistic missiles that are coming from space. Okay, that's what the Patriot system is for. It is not for the planes, but it can engage planes, is what I'm saying. But its main role of development is to target ballistic missiles of short range. Write this down. Short range, like say for example Iskander, it cannot target long range ballistic missiles, okay, or the ICBMs, because the speed is gonna be just too much, 25,000 miles per hour, and that's nobody can target it. But it will target Iskander missiles or the short range. It was designed to first destroy the Scud missiles of the Saddam Hussein in the first Gulf War, and it performed very well. So that is, they are good at this kind of stuff, attacking the incoming ballistic missiles. It is not that great for attacking a plane. It doesn't like going to grab a hook on the plane and the missile was like, well, I got you now, bitch, I got you, my hook is in your ass. It doesn't do anything like that. So the point being, these systems are now depleted inside Ukraine, at least near the front lines. So whenever the Ukraine will open itself radar and attack the incoming Russian plane, a bomber or a Su-35, in return the Su-35 will neutralize it, because Su-35 will do all kinds of tricks, okay, to get out of that lock. But the ground S-300 system cannot do anything. It is a stable as a rock. It cannot run away from there. Are you understanding the point? It is a stable system. It just cannot run out of it. So S-300 gets destroyed. And the Air Force could have done this kind of things like from a long time when Ukraine had nothing, and all these tanks that Russia lost, all these men that Russia lost, all this shit that is Wagner has lost, it could have been saved, because all your army needed to do was to just go into an attacked area and just find out who is remaining, and if there are wounded Ukrainians, take them to the hospital. If they are alive, take them capture them as a prisoner of war, and that's how you take huge amount of territories will be taken. In this kind of war, huge amount of territories will be taken, and the Ukrainians will just keep on running backwards and backwards. There is nothing they can do. There has to be an answer to destroy entire Russian Air Force. Then only Ukraine can do something in this war. But because that Air Force, the Grandpa Putin and the Grandpa Shoigu decided that our Air Force will just not be a part of this war, which means you expose the Russian army to all types of harm, all types of destruction. Every single thing will happen to them now. And that's what is going on. And even after 1.5 years, if you still haven't done that, then what the fuck, dude? And why is Prigozhin crying about it? Prigozhin doesn't understand this. He's also an old man. These old people should not run the country, to be honest with you. They are just too old. You might think that, yeah, these old and, very old people, but not true always. Because there is a thing called as the cognitive decline. Okay, just like my grandfather. Let's just say my grandfather is a bit too much. Okay, but the cognitive ability of a 40-year-old or even a 50-year-old like Macron, and a cognitive ability of a 70-year-old or a Biden like a 80-year-old person, there is no comparison. He is not going to make mistakes at the age of 50. But this 70-year-old or 80-year-old is going to make a large amount of mistakes. Now, Biden, on the other hand, cannot take decisions on his own. He has to rely on people that are going to tell him what he wants to do, because it's a hegemony. But Russia, on the other hand, has to listen to every single thing that Putin uncle says or Shoigu uncle says. Even though if it is good for them or bad for them, nobody can control Putin uncle or Shoigu uncle, and therefore Grandpa Putin and Grandpa Shoigu will do or take decisions that will be resulting a lot of issues, and that is something that is not good. All of a sudden Putin could realize, all of a sudden Grandpa Putin would wake up and say, hey, this is too much. Launch the fucking nukes. And nukes will be launched. I'm not joking. You have to understand this in a full context. You think that if Biden was allowed to just run the country based on whatever he thought? Unbelievable. Have you seen his speeches? It's all written down by young people. Everything he says. So they tell him what to read. And in that reading he makes a lot of mistakes. What makes you think that he is taking decisions on his own? America doesn't work like that. It's a fucking democracy. There are several people involved in any decision. It cannot be taken by one person. But in Russia, all the decisions will be taken by one person, who is Putin uncle. Two person, that is Shoigu uncle. Tomorrow Putin could say that Shoigu, fuck off.